Hello, and this is my first save on TEW IX in the CVerse with 21st Century Wrestling, which is a British-based company. I'm hoping that we can learn the mechanics of this janky new angles in the game and everything else there, and we'll learn how to book half-decent shows together. I am your host, Dave Mack, and we will be diving straight into this as an introduction. I will be carrying on with my WCW 1995 game, but I'm going to carry that on in TEW 2020 for the time being, just because I don't think there's any databases that work very well, and I found converting it over, it was kind of a bit rubbish and a bit janky, so I wanted to learn the new game, but I thought let's turn it into a series, let's have a go. And I absolutely love 21st Century Wrestling because it's a right laugh in the CVerse. So it's been my favourite promotion for a long time. I do love the roster. I love the fact you've got Tommy Cornell and you've got Edward Cornell, which is a great feud to book. It's a kind of basic British wrestling, and it's classic in the sense that we've got classic sports entertainment in the sense of we have big characters. Wrestling matches come second to the kind of storylines and the characters that we're going. So in ring, we're not too worried about. Everything else, we kind of have a look around. So we're going to be getting used to the new setup. Obviously, we've got things like the booking team and the inner circle stuff we can go through, which I'll have a look at in probably some future videos and go through that a bit more when I kind of understand it a little bit more myself. But I thought now we'd go through a few bits and bobs with what's going to happen in this save and my plans on where we're going to go. So I think first of all, if we have a quick look at the roster, one of the main problems we've got is we've got a lot of people on big fat contracts. We've got guys earning silly money, 150 grand for Edward Cornell, wowzers. Tommy Cornell, that's even more surprising that he's earning slightly less. But yeah, we've got guys earning big bucks, so we hemorrhage a lot of money here, and we don't really have a lot of big stars for the future. We've got Edward Cornell, obviously at 38. I really love Edward Cornell. He kind of reminds me a mix of JBL and MJF-ish, sort of that kind of big, bad businessman kind of person. One of my side goals is to make sure I get him into the Hall of Immortals, because I think he's an absolute superstar and he deserves it. I think he does there. So if we look at his actual title history, 75% of the way there, we can get him a few more titles, we can get him up there and we can get him into that. So I want Edward Cornell to do well there. Other side of it, we have Tommy Cornell is another big name that we're going to have on the roster. As far as pop goes, he's 83. I think Edward Cornell's going to be up there at 85, yeah. These are our kind of big guns. Tommy Cornell, he's a bit of rough justice. Tommy Cornell, I like him. He reminds me a bit of Negan from The Walking Dead, which I am absolutely obsessed with watching at the moment, even though I'm years and years behind everyone else finding it. But I kind of like that kind of badass, kind of tough guy act. I like that. So he is going to be a big player on this as well. The difficult we've got here is he is starting to talk about having a final run, and we're going to be probably looking at Tommy Cornell kind of retiring soon, which is a bit disappointing because he's huge. He's like the biggest name. He is the CVerse, so this is a really big deal that we've got Tommy Cornell here. I'm hoping we can keep him long enough wrestling and not dipping out to do some other stuff like, I don't know, God knows what a Tommy Cornell would do, probably become a politician or some nonsense like that. So they're the kind of real big names we've got there. Outside of that, we've got Lee Burton and Wade Orson. Wade Orson is our current champ, which is good. He's a kind of new era superstar. These guys are our kind of future. This is what we want to build the company on, is these two. They're pop right up there. It's outside of this we start getting some real issues once we start going into our stars. If we go in there, look, we have Adam Matravers or Matt Ravers. I think it's Matravers. That's, by the by. He's probably our next real big name to look out for. At 42 years of old, he's got absolutely zero future there. Then we have guys like Bedlam, Rolly, Muckletruck and War Machine. These are the kind of 21st century big lumbering oxes that we get on the roster. We have a lot of really big bald men. It was really awful in the last game because they all look like just potatoes, whereas now we've got these slightly nicer AI generated pictures, although this is such a nitpicking thing about the new game, but backgrounds, why have we done this to me, Adam? Look, pitch black background, slightly grey background, slightly darker grey background. They've all got different colour backgrounds. Come on, let's try and keep some continuity. Anyway, so these pictures are slightly better than the potato men that I'm used to dealing with, so we're kind of happy there. But this is where we kind of got to build for the future on 21st Century Wrestling, really. There is nothing as far as quality of the Cornells coming up. So we're going to have to work kind of hard to find some guys that have got some, a little bit of charisma, a little bit of mic skills, a little bit of star quality, because that's what's going to sell in 21st Century Wrestling. Because we don't really have any worries. We don't have any worries about the British market. We are dominating that. There is no one who's going to compete with us on that. We're a million miles behind the US market, which is fine. Making inroads into there is always something I've tried to do, but it's really difficult to penetrate that kind of USPW and TCW and that kind of stuff. It's really hard to get in there. Also, I think if we look through the Jeff Nova here, he talks about it, is that we're kind of pushing into the European market. That's what the kind of idea that since the last game, that's what we're doing. Because I think if we go into here, we actually have a we have Jeff Nova hits back. Yeah, look at this, that we're not hemorrhaging money and it's just money that's gone into the European expansion. So that's going to be a kind of little side quest as well, that we're going to try and make Jeff's European dream come true. We're going to try and push him forward and get him in there. So that's going to kind of be fairly interesting. I've always tried to build my new stars, but I was recently on the Grey Dog software forum, reading through a few of the threads on there, and there was a guy called Self, one of the users on there, said no one should learn on the job in front of thousands of millions of people, and I kind of like the idea of that I'm not going to push people on the TV shows. I'm not going to push people on the pay-per-views that aren't ready. I want the TV shows to be really high quality stuff now. I want to deliver a really good product where everyone is a top quality star. We're not putting people out there that are kind of jobbers and don't deserve the opportunity to. Even if that means it takes me a little bit more effort building them up off screen, we're going to have to do that, because I want to really put some effort into really penetrating that kind of European market and really getting in there and we're bringing up some really half decent talent so that we can actually feel like we're kind of doing it. If we look at the size here, look, we're already big. Our next level we've got to go up to huge, and we've got to get to 71 throughout Europe. I mean, European stuff is hard. Look, we are struggling in the European areas, so we'll battle on with that, and that's going to be kind of interesting to see how we get there. Like I say, the other big problem we've got is I'm probably going to need to bring in some more talent onto the roster, but we are pretty chock-a-block financially, so I'm going to have to be kind of mindful of that. We've got 8.5 million in the bank, which is outrageous amount of money, but we're going to have to trim that down and bring in some better future quality stars, because otherwise we're just not going to have that longevity there to do it, and I think we'll really struggle if we just try and stick with that. Quickly to go through our events and TV, we're going to be having a 1 hour A show, which is held every Thursday, which is quite a manageable amount of booking. Again, we might need to look into that. If I'm going to struggle pushing people, I might need to introduce a B show. I might introduce a B show only in Europe. Maybe there. It'll be extra booking for myself, but it should give me an opportunity to start pushing people to do some other bits and bobs out there. So I kind of like the idea of doing that, and it will start making inroads into Europe a little bit more than we currently are, because obviously our popularity and our size, we do need to start kind of pushing a little bit into there, because if we look at the US, we've got absolutely nothing going on in there. Canada, nothing at all. Mexico, blimey, absolutely zero there. Obviously Britain, we are absolutely massive, and we don't have to really worry about that so much, but it's that European market we want to try and take hold of. Maybe we'll look at the Indian market, because I think there's so little going on there. We could go in there and steal a few bits, but that's going to be really our kind of plan, is to get to those European ones. One of the big problems we've got, if we look at our creative here, again we're going through the guys I already showed. So we've got Tommy Cornell, Edward Cornell, Orson and Burton. Our next big thing is a new chap called Forest Charmer, who looks like he could be pretty useful. So quite interested to see there. At 21, he's probably got a long way to go, but he's got the star quality, sex appeal. He's got he's got the numbers that we want. We're not worried about these in-ring talents so much, but these bits we're kind of interested in. So we might give him a little bit of a push and see what's going on there. I like the fact that you used to have the name the Yankee Poodle, so that's kind of awful. I like all that kind of heel, aloof, preening heel mannerisms. Love all that kind of stuff. High fashion, really good. That kind of reminds me of some of your older kind of gimmicks that you used to have. You had the sort of Rick the Model Martells, or even maybe your Tyler Breezes, to go a little bit more recent for people that are not quite as old as me. But I will be booking this in a kind of more of a early 90s, late 80s kind of style. This isn't going to be big, Attitude Era kind of stuff. This is kind of a family product, and we're going to be booking stuff with, it's not going to be, I don't want to go down the Attitude Era of having main eventers facing each other every week or anything like that. I want to try and build people up and make a bit more sense. Hot prospect, we've got a few guys here that I think if anyone's played 21st Century before, they would know. Mark Adonis, Blackheart, Gravedigger, these are all guys. Gravedigger, absolutely disappointing picture there. He looked absolutely badass in the last game, and I think they've made him look a little bit like just the local bouncer at a terrible nightclub. But hey-ho, there we go. 6'11", 340 pounds. Would I be scared of him? Yeah, I probably would, because I'm weak as anything. But he doesn't look as terrifying as he could be. But then again, we're going to be pushing him because we've got a big star quality there, and I really liked him. He is kind of a the Undertaker. You know, he's got an RIP finisher, which is a pile driver. He's basically the Undertaker, but British. So we'll get him in there. As far as hidden gems go, absolutely nothing going on in the UK scene. Any worthwhile wrestler that is British or can work in Britain is pretty much signed to us anyway. So Doddy McGregor, I mean, I'm going to look at him. I bet he's absolutely awful. Yeah, I can get him in for 30 rubs a show, so that tells you something about his level. I mean, look at his actual skills in the toilet. He's not even got the... He's menacing, but he's nothing else. Popularity, 21 in Scotland. Absolutely terrible. So we're going to have to look a little bit further afield, perhaps, for some of these guys. Might go looking over in the Australian market, because we've got a few guys over there that are quite interesting. I like the look of that. So that's going to be something to do there. But at the moment, we're going to have to bin people off before we bring anyone else in, because financially it's going to be a real struggle. The real big thing that we need to look at here, before I start looking at this inner circle and all this kind of jazz, is our creative problem. We are required to have 5 storylines with hot or above, and we only have 3, so this is going to be a problem. So if we look at our actual storylines that we have going on at the moment, actually, do you know what? Before that, we'll quickly look at our tag teams, because this is quite decent. We've got a decent tag team division going on, so we've got some half-decent teams there that we can put some good matches on. And the other thing that I'm quite excited about, which I like fiddling about with, is stables. We've got Hellbound, which is run by Jonathan Faust, which is a really good team. You have the House of Business, which is Edward Cornell's stable, which is really good. That's going to be massively featured. The Kingsmen, which is Cliff King with a few guys there. That's a kind of lower down the roster faction, but we kind of like them. I like that, and I like the logo. That's a pretty sweet logo. And the 3-man army, which is Beast Bantam, Mark Adonis, and Matt Hulk. Mark Adonis and Matt Hulk have always been around in 21st century wrestling, and really good guys to have on there. Adonis is another good one. He's got a lot of good stats. He's always had decent charisma. He's got all those kind of off-screen stats, on-screen performance stats that we kind of like, all the stuff there, but just not the in-ring stuff, I guess, which is okay. The storylines is the thing I need to address the most, and the most amazing thing is Edward Cornell is in a storyline against Adam Matravers, which is great. No Tommy Cornell, he's not in any of them. So we've got Bedlam and Rory Muckletruck, who are kind of at that star level. We need to push one of these up, so kind of whoever wins this feud is probably going to move their way into the main event stuff, so that's going to be an interesting one there. Edward Cornell and Adam Matravers. Someone I think I saw on the Grey Dog Software forum described this as basically like 21st century wrestling's Cena versus Orton. This is a kind of feud that's been going on forever. Everyone knows it works. They know each other, so that's a kind of decent one to build the whole show round, because they're really good steady hands with what's going on. The future is now. This is our Burton and Wade Orson. This is our Rock and Austin of 21st century wrestling. So this is one we want to, we might have this feud now, but we will need this to go on for years and years, because they should be feuding for the next 5 to 10 years in this promotion. So this is what we really need to base it around, so we're going to have to work on that. And we have an Unarmed and Dangerous. It's the 3-man army. You kind of go around just bullying people. That's always been their kind of shtick. And they're taking on Sifu and Ricky Storm. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Sifu, I think their tag team name is. A great little feud there. It's a real mid-card kind of feud. So the fact we've only got 4 that are with the heat. We've only got 4 storylines, but only 3 have the required heat level. Obviously, we seem to have ditched the number rating, and we're just going for verbal hot or very hot or a little cold. So we need to get some more storylines actually jabbed in there, and we need to get some people in there. I'm hoping to stick Tommy Cornell in there for a good storyline before he disappears off and retires or becomes a, I don't know, rock star or politician rock star, whatever he wants to do. So sorry, this is quite a brief one and quite a quick one. I feel like I've scattered brained over a lot of it, but I just wanted to kind of introduce this is what I'm going to do. I've looked around so many other promotions, but 21st century wrestling is the one I really know and know what I'm doing with it, so I'm hoping to kind of be able to learn the new game and the new mechanics of it and the whole idea of this new angle system with this. And the angles are going to be really important because that's what we're really booking the shows around, is the angles rather than the matches. So it's going to be important that we make that work quite for us. So yeah, please join me for this one. I'm going to try and do these as and when I get a chance. The current idea of the schedule is I will probably just do, each show will be booked. So the best of British wrestling will be booked in one show, and we'll go through the results. And then I think every sort of maybe once a month, just go through the kind of back end of what things are going on. Maybe I'll do that just before a pay-per-view or just after a pay-per-view. I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to go, and I really want to get an idea of what you guys are enjoying. If you enjoy seeing that, you want to see more of this, or if you want to see less of this and a bit more of the WCW, that's kind of fine. Like I say, they're going to run concurrently, the two games, so hopefully I won't neglect one or focus on one too much. But yeah, until next time, please do reach out in the comments with any suggestions and any ideas and any tips for playing the new game, because I mean, as much as I make a YouTube channel on this, I'm an absolutely terrible player of TEW, so any tips on how I can get around the systems of Adam's crazy new plans that he has for us since he's made the new games, if you've got any suggestions of stuff that I should do or look out for, then please do stick it in the comments. And until next time, I will see you very soon. Goodbye.